Welcome to the Heart of the Equation, where professionals in STEM fields explore leadership, professional growth, and the human side of success. I'm Sara, a system engineer turned business and leadership coach, supporting professionals build successful coaching businesses alongside their careers.
And I'm Anisa, a chemical engineer turned into resilience coach, artist, best-selling author, and meditation teacher, here to guide conversations on well-being and growth.
I'm Pragati, an IT engineer, a senior consultant, content creator, and a community builder. I'm passionate about helping professionals thrive through change.
Together, we'll dive into challenges, career pivots, and the transformations that help engineers, scientists, and tech professionals succeed on their terms.
Let's get started.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to kick off this podcast, this conversation, which we've been having for months between us, and finally we are here. We three of us, we are so excited to launch this podcast targeted to scientists, engineers, tech professionals, and all the topics they're going through in their workplace, in their careers, all the discussions that are related to the human side of these kind of jobs, because we felt maybe there are a lot of discussions relevant to marketing people, sales people, how to grow businesses, how to make more income, or how to be better manager, but nobody is really addressing the challenges of this group of people. Three of us are engineers, so we are so excited to start this conversation. So before we move on, we will introduce each other to you, or we will introduce ourselves to you, and then we will tell you why we are doing this, what we are going to do, what topics are going to be covered here, and how this podcast is going to be a safe space for you to also bring all the questions you have, maybe you don't know where to ask them, and turn it into something useful for you. So let's get started. So I'll start maybe with Pragati. So introduce yourself to our audience. Of course, we all know each other very well. It sounds funny, but yeah, tell a little bit about yourself and why we're doing this.
I know, absolutely. When you asked me to introduce myself, I was like, of course, she knows me so well. But for our audience today, so, of course, my name is Pragati Siddhanti. I'm an Indian expat. I've been in Switzerland now for over 8 years. And I was actually really, really kicked off with this idea because these are the specific topics that I don't think it's all about success, money, entrepreneurships, marketing, personal branding. No one's really talking about what really matters and how we feel in the professional world of STEM, especially. I'm a computer science engineer, um, and I have around 20 years. I think over 20 years. I was recently just kind of counting the number of years, and I couldn't believe it that it was already 20 years in the tech world. So I've been in STEM for that long, and I've also done a master's in the middle. And apart from this, I run a platform called My Swiss Story. So it's a non-profit platform. It is supposed to help expats in Switzerland navigate life and also allow women to kind of meaningfully network with each other. Because I think that's really important. And it comes from a very personal space of, like a sense of belonging. And I'm also a lecturer, also teaching tech stuff. So, there are different dynamics at work all the time that that kind of change how you operate, change how you feel. And I think these are going to be some of the really important topics. It's what no one wants to kind of talk about. We all know it, but we just don't want to talk about. So I'm so excited. I'm like almost jumping with joy right now because I know that these have been thoughts in our mind in isolated scenarios where Sara, Anisa, and I were kind of thinking about these things. And it used to come up when we were just having our chit chat sessions.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that now we will do these chit chats and share it with the world because I think it's like the need of the hour. So passing it now to Anisa, and maybe she can introduce herself.
Thank you, both Pragati and Sara. I'm also very excited, like Pragati and Sara, to start this podcast. It was something that it was in heart of three of us. And each time that we meet, we start to talking really about the issues that we're hearing from our colleagues, both in corporates or entrepreneurs. And it has a start, basically, it was the seed right in our heart, and it has a start to grow, and now we just can see the flowers that are coming out, basically. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about things that nowhere else have been talked about. We're going to bring the human side, mind and body, and all the other, let's say, needs of a human being, of the people behind projects and marketing and business, to this podcast. I'm Anisa Zafar. I'm based in Basel. I'm a chemical engineer and project manager, turned to resilience coach and trauma coach, and I didn't leave corporate yet. And many people are asking me, are you leaving corporate? And my answer is no, because I like also to be in corporate. So I really like to teach meditation, to work with my clients, to help them to understand what is resilience, what is nervous system, and how they can have a better energy going through the day. And at the same time, I like the corporate part as well. I like to interact with people. I like to bring forward projects. And what is really interesting for me is to bring in that mindfulness, that calmness to the workplace, to the corporate, and make a difference there. So I'm very happy again to be in this podcast to contribute to conversation for well-being and growth.
Thank you very
Sara,
much.
you want
Thank
to
you.
introduce yourself?
Sure, yes. And also, as Anisa and Pragati described, we've had so many conversations. We felt like this could be turned into a podcast because what we were going through, we were not just grumbling, we were also looking into why this is happening or what are the consequences, how to change it. All of us are very curious people, I think. But how it started was like, okay, a little bit about myself. Maybe I give a bit of background. So I am an industrial engineer or system engineer. That's my background. Most of my career was spent in supply chain management, sales and operations, sourcing. That's what I was doing in corporate. And I always loved fashion. So my last year in corporate, I started a fashion business. And then at some point, so that was my side hustle, it became impossible for me to do both. So I quit my corporate job to continue that fashion business. It became an e-commerce business and a digital product business. So that's how it developed until the pandemic happened. And a lot of people wanted to go online. And I already had an online business. So I had a lot of people wanting to have coffee chats with me just to see how online businesses work, set things online. And then I noticed I really actually enjoy this. That's how I became a consultant. And then the number of people became just, it was not easy to manage. It was just every day 10 people. It just became out of control. So I decided to create a course for these people. Then my coaching business basically took off from there. I was showing this new business owners how to create online stores, digital marketing, set things up. And then I noticed I'm really interested in the humans behind the businesses. We use this word a lot between us, among us here, because what I could see was that sometimes people have the money, they have the strategy, everything seems to be available, they have the recipe to success, but things are not working. What's going on? I was doing my best, just give them the best strategy, just not getting anywhere. Then I learned the human matters. And even I'm not always bringing my best because I have ignored my human side. I'm just trying to follow the recipe. And that's when I decided that my knowledge is not enough for doing this kind of work. I need to get professionally trained as a coach. And this is where my journey started. And I loved it so much that at some point I became a full-time coach. And right now I'm a business coach. I mostly actually work with scientists, engineers, tech professionals who have been trained to become coaches. They want to set up their businesses. And this was mostly last year. We had a lot of conversations about workplace. And then I was having this conversation with my own friends, Pragati and Anisa here. And you notice like, oh, it's not only us. There is something is happening. And of course, also because of our backgrounds, I think all of us, we are connected to a lot of people in these industries. 90% of our friends are also engineers, tech people. And so this is really like how this idea of this podcast kind of came together. At some point, we thought like, yeah, we should do something about it because there is so much that is not addressed. And there are so many leadership topics that are not addressed. When you're an engineer, when you're a tech person, communication, you're just expected to know things by common sense. And even when you go get trained for it, you're not taken seriously sometimes. And this was like when we started to hear about this from so many different people, it was clear to all of us that this is a topic to address. So that's how the idea of this podcast was triggered.
I think it's so interesting that all of us have probably said the same thing in our own words. And I think what's really, really important is that for you to do your best, these topics are commonly ignored. And it's so important because all of this really goes hand in hand. I mean, we are human beings before we are, resources at an organization, or even if we are running our own, business. It's so important. I mean, it's so important to acknowledge the fact that the human side of any profession cannot be ignored. And that kind of goes hand in hand for you to be successful, for you to have lots of money, or whatever success looks like for you.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And this is not what we were taught in school. We are all children of the 80s here. So it's revealing about our age, but it's really most of us we've learned a recipe to success. And even, when I went to business school, they teach about the strategy, they teach a little bit about the behaviors, like, but there was not much about your nervous system. Your like past, if there are like any traumas, anything that is triggering you, your health. And none of these was taught to our generation. So we are trying to learn so much and we're also trying to unlearn a lot of that. And yeah, this is the conversation we're going to continue in this podcast.
It's a journey of self-discovery, right? That we would
Yeah.
like really to open here and bring also all our vulnerabilities as well, what we went through or what we go through, or also what we are hearing that other people are going through, just also to show that you are not alone if you are going through something at this moment, if there's an issue or challenge that you're a human being and other human beings are also experiencing that. And I think that part can give kind of a relief as well, right? To know, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. I'm going through that. And there's a solution for that, right?
Yeah, yeah, that is true because there are also a lot of problems when we are in them. Sometimes our dignity is being challenged, sometimes our whole self is being challenged. Like recently, there was a client I was talking to. She's a scientist. She's a PhD, educated, all of that, and she was explaining how her boss is micromanaging her. Like, if when you have so much, so much knowledge, so much experience, you need to feel that you're trusted. But she didn't feel like that, and she also had shame to actually even talk about it. She was thinking maybe something's wrong with me, that this is happening. And then when we had this conversation, I had a similar conversation with a friend on the same day. I just noticed like this is happening just because you have the education, you have the experience, you have the skills, doesn't mean that your humanity, you're being taken into seriously. And I just want everybody who's listening to this that if this is happening to you or anything similar, you're not the only one who's going through this, and there is a solution for it. And we are not here to gossip behind our bosses or things like that. We are here to explore what is going on, what could be changed, how can we contribute to that change, and what solutions and tools are available.
And I just want to add this one thing, that there is a lot of power when you can resonate. Sometimes, and I think all three of us will agree on this, that we are not here to give you any solution. But what you're going to hear from us is going to be a lot of stories. It's going to be a lot of situations. It's going to be a lot of things that we have personally experienced. And there is so much power when you can resonate. Because when I'm sure, Sarah, when your client, like your client, the scientist who was speaking to you, the moment she kind of spoke her truth, and she got to know that this is not just happening to her, but so many of us. I think all of us have gone through this, where we've had bosses that were micromanaging us, or situations where our flight or fight mode was almost triggered. But when you hear that this is also happens to other people, and there is a lot of empathy over there, that's when you kind of also start easing. And that's the point. We want you to feel more comfortable, to feel like you can speak your truth. And that's when the journey starts towards authenticity, success, purpose driven careers.
Exactly. Yes, totally agree.
We want to say, Sarah, something about how it looks like, and also about that we can get their thoughts, questions, and the things that they cannot talk about it somewhere else.
Yeah, something we were talking about before we kick off was that this podcast needs to be, we'd like it to be a safe space to bring all these topics that you're not so sure you want to ask someone, because all of us in the corporate world, we also want to be strategic about our actions. Sometimes you don't know, can I talk to my HR? Can I talk to this coach? Is this confidential? Am I even allowed to ask this question? So we also thought we'll create a space that you can even submit your questions anonymously. So no worries about who asked it. And talk about all those topics from a professional point of view, of course. Sometimes we will talk about it. Sometimes we might invite an expert who's better at addressing that problem, and see what needs to be done. Because as Pragati just said, if we do not talk about things, if something is not brought to the surface, then you can't address it. It's when we keep too many secrets, it becomes so heavy. So this is what we are hoping to do here. And maybe I can also add something, that why we chose to talk to this specific group, professionals in STEM fields. Of course, all of us have engineering backgrounds, but for so many years, I think this probably it applies to you too. I couldn't even say like I'm going through this because I have an engineering background. So I thought everyone has these problems until I started my coach training. And in that cohort, there were a lot of people from sales background, marketing people, there were a lot of HR people, there were a lot of teachers. Then I noticed like, oh, they see the world differently. And as someone with this sort of engineering background, I'm used to like a lot of logics and facts and numbers. And I also struggled with a lot of like this managerial coaching knowledge that didn't have all the evidence base. And like, I couldn't put the two and two together, and I would question things, and others didn't really didn't care. Then I noticed, oh, there is something among us who come from these backgrounds. We have this analytical mind. We are interested in evidence, and we have had this training, which is a lot about facts and numbers and methods, but maybe less about leadership and communication and human. And we rely so much on our common sense, and sometimes things get complicated for us. So this is why we thought this group maybe is not the loudest group in social media. You do not see so many scientists, engineers, or tech people post on
Posting.
LinkedIn, brag about their latest success, or we're not like that. Most of us are quiet, down to earth people. So we thought this is a space for us to bring all these problems. And it could be workplace problems. It could be you want to change your career. You want to totally reinvent yourself as something else that is not relevant to your previous education. And you wonder like, oh my God, I have a PhD in, I don't know, chemistry or life science or something. Now I want to become a leadership coach. What about that? A lot of people are worried about letting go of what they learned. Maybe you don't know what's next for you. You don't even know what is your next step. You want to explore that. And what applies to this group is very different to what applies maybe to teachers and salespeople and marketing, commercial people who are very like generalists and they can do like whatever they want. So this is why we thought this is the group we want to address. And because we are this group ourselves, we have so much to talk about.
And
Or
I
maybe
think,
they are, go
yeah,
on, go
yeah,
on.
go ahead, go ahead.
I wanted to add just, or maybe there are people like myself and Pragati. They're working in corporate, and at the same time, they have another purpose. We can have different goals and purpose, right? We are not just one thing, as we are not only daughter or only sister. We are many roles we have.
Yeah.
We can have also different things and play different roles, let's say, right? So they can stay in corporate and at the same time they can build something beside that that they can give them joy, because if we do what we like and we enjoy, we do not feel tired. We feel more energetic, and then we can do also the other job um, with a high energy. Go,
Yes.
Pragati. You wanted to
Yeah,
say
I was
something?
I was actually going to say the same thing. I mean, it's the art of possible, right? That it's absolutely possible for you to be a scientist and also, something else. You could also love making candles in your free time, and it's just an example. Or like making soap, like Anisa and I were talking about. And it's absolutely okay that you have a PhD and you're doing like hardcore quantum mechanics and things like that. But you also have joy that you find in painting like Anisa does, or in crafting or anything else. And I think in that sense, all of us have been examples where we have either constantly kind of reinvented ourselves, our careers, switched completely, or we are still kind of doing three or four things together. So it's absolutely fine. It's really what you really want to do, and to kind of acknowledge that. I think we a lot of us in STEM kind of lose sight on what we really wanted to do and what is really possible at any age, at any time. That's the kind of hope that we want this podcast to kind of bring into your lives.
Exactly. Yeah. We're definitely going to have an episode really going into this topic of side hustling. I think there is so much because what we have here, both Pragati and Anisa are professional side hustlers. I don't know how you do all of these things. I'm not a very good multitasking kind of person, actually. I'm like most of the time doing one thing. But I quit corporate because it made sense for me at that point. Actually, I didn't quit because the job was toxic or I quit my job when things were good, but I had something else to look forward to. And I'm not against corporate at all. I really do not like this message that's going around in the media, glamorizing entrepreneurship and saying, oh, quit your 9 to 5 and become a free entrepreneur. I don't think that's realistic. I actually think corporate careers are there are some benefits being part of that, doing things the corporate way. So I'm actually a fan of 9 to 5, and although I quit that, I follow the same routine in my work. I use a lot of that experiences, and I also have worked with corporations, so I am not against that at all. And I think here we also can talk about it that yes, when you're an engineer, when you're a doctor, a lot of your identity is also coming from that sort of title and that education you've had. So that's why it's so difficult to think of other things. That's also, as what Pragati just said, it becomes so hard to think of other things that are possible for you because you think you're compromising or losing something. But really, it's about what you want. And also, the more authentic we live, the more connected we are to things we want, we can also be better at our jobs, at our whatever we are doing. And also, we could be healthier mentally and physically. So, these conversations we're going to have here, it's not really like corporations are bad, entrepreneurs are good, or I don't know, don't do a good job and be a quiet quitter and save your energy for your side hustle. No, we're not going to. Everyone has to figure out their own way, but we really want to have this holistic point of view of how to live a more wholesome, authentic life, doing things that make sense for you and also create the income that you want. And corporations, they support us in creating sustainable incomes. And that's totally fine if someone wants to have both ways or either. So everything is allowed in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you said it, because sometimes it's important that we drop these truth bombs, right? Because I think, like you said, the glamorizing of entrepreneurship is it's such a big content magnet, if I can call it that.
Yeah.
Creates great content, it creates the best viral hooks and the viral videos possible. But the reality is actually quite different. And Sarah, you would know this firsthand because you have kind of transitioned from a corporate job, which, let's be honest about it, the risk profile is so much higher when you're an entrepreneur. You never make the same money every month right? It's always varying. It's someone's are like amazing, and that too after you've really established yourself and kind of not saying very nice things. Of course, there's a lot of toxicity. Of course, there's bureaucracy. Of course, there's politics. No one's denying that. But also the stability that a corporate career brings in. And whether it's a side hustle or completely reinventing yourself, both of them are kind of possible. That's what we were talking about. But it's also that it's important to acknowledge that there are pros and cons everywhere. And it's never as glamorous as it looks on social media.
Yes, exactly.
Never.
Yes, totally agree. And yeah, it's just I see it all the time that people see on or media makes people think that entrepreneurship, being your own boss, is like an escape. And then they show all these people that they have their laptops in Bali near some beach doing the work they want. And in reality, I think two times in my life I tried to work from remote locations. And although I'm a coach and I do a lot of online stuff, it actually wasn't so easy. The internet was not good. There was like, it was not ideal space to work with. I couldn't concentrate. It was just not, I noticed like, I am used to my 9 to 5 routine, working from my office, from my computer, not being disturbed by anything. And like they make these stories, and some people actually believe in them because they paint this nice picture, but really, there is no escape. If you have a problem that's bothering you in the corporate world, probably you're going to have a similar version of it when you're an entrepreneur. So address your problems before running away. And also, running your own business, that comes with a lot of challenges. There is uncertainty. You don't have a boss, yes, but you have clients probably. You have stakeholders. You have partners. There are other people. So businesses and careers are not happening in isolation. And this is also something I think we will talk about here. I think the quality of our life, our work is dependent on the quality of our relationships. I think this is something Esther Perel, it's my favorite therapist, she once said. Really, we can thrive when we can handle our relationships. And that is something I think we're going to talk about here a lot.
That's a journey of exploration, right? That we are basically inviting our audience to. And I think each person needs to do that journey kind of alone.
Yeah.
We can have guidance, companion, network, and at the same time, it's just like an inward journey to ask what is good for me as Anisa today,
Mm.
what I want to do. Maybe something that Sara is doing for me or Pragati is doing for me doesn't bring me joy. So what we are bringing here are we're basically revealing some secrets, some topics that might help you actually in this journey, or sometimes we are gonna ask some hard questions, maybe, right? Sometimes hard question help, and then through them you can just go through that inward journey and find your way, because I think there is no one else that can help us really to find our purpose or find our way. I was just asking myself a lot, 10 years ago, something like that. Maybe I wanted to be only a coach and meditation teacher. And then I started, right, teaching and having clients. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to be only that. I like, managing projects. I'm a person people. I like to listen to people, to bring their problems of the corporates and help them to solve and bring from one side to other. So and then I think you change, right? You change your idea. Maybe in 10 years, I change my idea again. That's kind of a dynamic journey. So I think that is our message, right?
Yes, yes, totally agree. I think also a lot of us were raised with this idea of you have to have this consistent resume. That's what we were taught back then in university. Your resume has to be very consistent. You shouldn't have gaps. You should have very, very good explanation if you have those gaps. And everything you do has to kind of, build on top of each other. You need to stay in one industry. It was very one-dimensional. But really, when you look at it from a human point of view, we can have multi passions. We could be multi talents, and we could be into rocket science at the same time into spirituality or whatever. So I think also these conversations are changing at workplace. I think that the idea is obsolete. But this is also another thing we'd like to cover here, that you can be the human who that you are, with all the passions, with your whatever your authentic self wants, and find ways of exploring them, expressing them. And then you don't need to turn every passion into business, of course. And you'll find ways of living the life you want, but at the same time practicing or exploring what you're also interested in. There are practical ways around it. And yeah, this is not something that is covered enough in the media. I think we are all tired of being sold all these stories that really don't make sense. But we are here as humans, as normal people. We are not some supernatural, or we've been where you are, and we'd love to hear also from you. So yeah. If
Yeah, I wanted to actually wrap it up by saying that just like I think whoever is listening today and this comes from this field. So anybody who, just like you design solutions at work, you design algorithms, you write programs, you kind of transform businesses. It's possible to do that with your own self. It's possible to design your own life, which brings you a lot of happiness, a lot of success, whatever success looks like for you, and abundance. So that's, I think, in a nutshell, it kind of is, that's what we're trying to say. And that's what I think our episodes will say, that, you can design your own life, which brings you a lot of happiness, a lot of purpose, a lot of.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I think we hope that we've given you a good picture of what we are about to do here, who we are going to sort of address here. And so pretty much to sum it up, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship, coaching, growth, leadership, workplace, all kinds of workplace topics, and all kinds of mental health, well-being related topic for you if you're a scientist, tech professional, engineer. And of course, we also would love to hear from you. If you're you're a HR professional, if you're someone who's serving these people, you're connected with these people, your job has to do something with people. We would love you to also connect with us, because we have a lot of questions, and I think we're going to have a few HR people here because we have a lot of questions of what's going on in the workplace and what's going to happen. Or a lot of people we've worked with also, they're navigating career changes. This is a topic, at least in Switzerland, in pharma industry. I know we have that, so many job changes, so many reorganizations. A lot of people lost their jobs. Some people are looking for jobs. Some people are actually thinking, do I want to go back, or what do I want? So this is like, these topics are very fresh. We hear that every day from clients, friends, or audience. I would love to cover that here. So yeah, this is all I can think of. Anything you'd like to add, ladies, before we end this conversation?
No, I think we just
Excited.
expect, yeah, just expect I mean, we are really excited. Just expect a lot of value coming your way. And we're going to have guests. Sometimes all three of us are going to be there at episodes. Sometimes it's just going to be two or one, but there's always going to be an impact that we create with every episode that we do. So, yeah, look out for
Looking forward.
yeah, look forward to kind of bringing in a lot more people, and continuing this conversation and creating a ripple effect for this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who listened. I'm also so grateful for our friendship that brought us here. And we hope what we talk about here is also useful to everyone who's listening. And yeah, please follow us, stay in touch. And if you have any questions, let us know. So goodbye from my side.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank
You.
you. Thanks for listening to The Heart of the Equation. If this episode sparked something for you, we'd love to hear about it.
Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on LinkedIn and Instagram to continue the conversation.
And if you know someone who is navigating their next career step, share this episode with them. It could be exactly what they need.
We see you next time as we explore more about leading with purpose, resilience, and authenticity.
Let's keep growing together.